So, oh, this is impressive, isn't it? Good morning again. Great to get the formalities of the general meeting out of the way. First of all, a few introductions. So you've already had the introductions of the directors, which is great, but there are a few other sort of important others in the room who we need to put on the table. First is the gentleman here being mic'd up, Julian Besser. You probably just need to turn around, Julian, so everyone can see you. Now, Julian actually is Vice President Exploration, a critical part of the story here, because he is really bringing the regional expertise. And you know, we were lucky enough to be introduced to Julian from Brian Mitchinger, who works with me in sound in my day job. And Julian, as you're going to hear, because he's going to tell part of the story, is really critical to what we're doing here, understanding the regional geology and bringing in that expertise. The other gentleman I wanted to introduce is a gentleman called Will Holland. Will, as you will have seen in the announcement this morning, has joined ECHO very recently as Chief Financial Officer. Welcome, Will, to the team, and we're sad to say goodbye to you, of course, in sound, but we welcome you here, and that's great. Dermot Boylan, who some of you will know, has been heavily involved for the last couple of months and actually helped us logistically set up today and the great organisation. Fiona, of course, you've met already and will introduce herself shortly. Just by way of introduction, what we've been trying to do with Echo Energy now for a few months since our sort of launch in March was set up a vehicle with some commonality to what we've been doing in sound. So really the intention here was to have a high respect for and a close intimacy to private investors, to make that bond in the same way we have in sound, and then to set up a vehicle with a different regional focus which is aimed at high risk, high reward exploration. And there's no excuses that this is big binary outcomes which have that potential for the sort of 10 bagger plus if it goes well. And the share price day to day will move around as it does. That's what you would expect. We're quite a liquid stock nowadays. But really the focus here is on discovering hydrocarbons and then getting an exit. That's the journey we've been on with sound, so far 5 years in the making. The journey with Echo, so far just a few months in the making, has been capturing that learning, distilling it down and replicating it in a highly efficient and hopefully transparent way. And we've been quite clear to sort of signal that to you. We were hugely excited to have landed in a way Fiona, who comes from the COO of Rockhopper. She was the one call I made together with Marco in terms of inviting to take the helm here. It only needed one call, and here we are today. So it really is a great credit to what Echo is, to the team we've created around Fiona, and to the journey we have ahead of us to be able to hand the helm over to Fiona, also enabling me to step back as a true non-exec should and get on with my day job, which is important as well. So really the intention here was to restructure the company, new team, new assets, a new journey, a new brand, and a new cornerstone investor. So hugely exciting times. The format for this morning is really to let Fiona and the team tell the story as they see it. It's a story which has already played out with the first asset acquisition in Bolivia, but then there is a future vision which is really important, which you can never quite get that flavour from the RNSs, of course, which we really want to share with you and we believe will excite you. And then afterwards we'll take some Q&A and have a very open conversation, perhaps with the whole team up front, so you can get your questions answered and addressed. So without further ado, Fiona, over to you.
Thank you, James, and thank you all for being here today to share with us at our first AGM as Echo Energy. I mean, not only is James excited about the future here, but I'm hugely excited to be taking the helm now. As CEO, I'll be starting that job next week. Of course, I'm trying to get encompassed and getting to know the whole team as it stands at the moment to grow that whole team. So this is just our first leg in the journey in this rapidly unfolding gas market of South America, where our strategy is going to be choreographed to focus on opportunistic, where possible, acquisitions of exploration, high quality, high risk, high reward gas assets, and to really play that carbon consciousness. You know, we are heading towards a low carbon future, and I think we recognise that. We want to take this journey along that pathway. Build on those 3 Ps, that's people, portfolio and partnerships. So if we just think about the acquisition story a little bit. Sorry, I don't think that's actually gone forward yet. Apologies. So if we think about the ambitious acquisition story and strategy, You know, that's underpinned by a balance sheet that we have of £26 million. That's not an enormous amount of money in this market, but what it does is get us a seat at the table. We're able to go into conversations with major companies. We're able to actually be there as a partner. We have cash that other people would love, and we're going to utilise that money on our balance sheet to actually get us the seat at the table. Would be nice to have some slides on the screen, but we'll wait just one moment.
But enjoy the beautiful geology.
Enjoy the geology and photography of Bolivia. So one of the most important pillars is our people. And in my view, you can only build a first-class business with a first-class, carefully chosen team. And we've been fortunate to actually benefit from some of this counter-cyclicity. You know, there are some fantastic people that have become available. The first of those, of course, is Julian, who you're going to hear from a little bit more in a moment when he actually comes and talks to us about the first asset acquisition. Continuing on from that, you'll have seen an RNS this morning, I hope, that announces the appointment of our Chief Financial Officer. So Will Holland has come to us from Sound, as explained by James, and he's going to come up and just tell you a little bit about himself and the experience that he's going to bring to the Echo team. So welcome, Will.
Thank you, Jeremy. So, who am I? For those of you that don't know me, in a nutshell, I'm a financier who started life as a frac engineer. After a decade at Halber, I moved into a financing role where I was at Macquarie for a large part of my career. There I was looking at small cap E&P companies and investing anything from $1 to $100 million in small cap E&P companies. After that, I then formed my own business, and for a couple of years I was providing independent advice to, again, small cap E&P companies on M&A, financing, balance sheet restructuring. And then most recently as the business development lead at Sound Energy. So for the majority of my career, I've actually been looking at small cap E&P companies and assessing them with a view to investing in them. And over the last 5 years, only two have really jumped up at me. The first one was Tendrara. So Tendrara, before T6 was drilled, fantastic opportunity, needed the right team to unlock the value in that. And as many of you here are shareholders in Sound Energy, you'll know what a great story that was. The second opportunity was when Julian came and sat down with me and talked to me about the thrust fold belt opportunities in Latin America. And that really, I hadn't looked at that before, and it really jumped out as an amazing opportunity. The key to it is people. The key to every good investment is people. As I used to say when I was at Macquarie, you can take a great asset and a poor management team can destroy the value of it, or you can take an average asset and a great management team can really enhance the value of it. What we have at Echo is an excellent management team, but also now an excellent asset. And I think that's the real key. As investors, you'll know that to get that 10 times return, you've got to take risk. But it's choosing the right risks, ignoring all of the noise. There's lots of noise, there's lots of assets out there which are not really any good. It's picking the good ones and working them properly. So that's why I joined Echo, because of the people, because of the strategy, because of the regional opportunity. What's my role? My role is to create a dynamic but a controlled corporate environment to allow Fiona and Julian to exercise and execute this strategy. Thank you very much.
What about the LATAM gas story? Rapidly unfolding market here. We've got very strong local pricing. gas pricing that's actually decoupled from the price of oil, so we can maintain that price strengthening. We've got a growing demand internally, domestically, within Bolivia. Not only that, we can see a market in which Bolivia is going to continue its exports to some of the growing Latin American countries. We've got Argentina, gas hungry. We've got Chile importing gas, we've got Uruguay importing gas, and we've got Brazil as one of the major uptakers of the gas story. So not only are they being fed by the massive regional infrastructure that we see across South America, but they're also having to import and set up regasification terminals. So they are desperate to get hold of gas from Bolivia. There's significant capacity in the existing pipelines and in the existing processing facilities that we have regionally. And what that means is that we can bring gas to market very, very quickly. So not only are we asking our team to come up with multi-TCF opportunities, high risk, high reward, but we're asking them to make sure that those are close to this infrastructure. And in Brazil, that's actually a feasible possibility. So not much of an ask from the team, and I think you'll agree that from the first acquisition that we've seen, they've already delivered on that. So, as I said, I'm going to let Julian talk to you about the deal itself, about the technical aspects of the block that we've just announced recently to have acquired, Huaco. I think what we really also need to focus on is just quite what a big deal this is. To have actually forged a partnership with Pluspetrol, one of the major players in South America, it is a real feat. And to actually get the asset in the postcode that we have. We're not talking about just being in Mayfair here. We're talking about being in the park lane of Mayfair. And Julian will explain to you just what that means and what the story is around it that we've picked up. So, without further ado, if I could just ask Julian to come up and tell you about dream deal number 1.
Thank you. Now, I tend to, as I'm a geologist, I tend to get a bit animated, so please bear with me. I think this is really exciting, and I'm really excited about this deal. And if you look at where we've come in the last couple of months, so I think it was around the 18th of April where we had the strategy relaunch. Since then, we've got out of Egypt, which has allowed us to concentrate on our LATAM strategy. And we've been out there looking at opportunities, looking at assets right across the continent. And I would say we are not opportunity constrained. I think in today's world where we're counter-cyclical, we have to be very, very disciplined against our investment criteria, against our technical criteria, and making sure that we bring in the right assets and we bring in the right partnerships. So we've been very, very disciplined. And I'm really excited to talk about our Huaco asset and our partnership with Pluspetrol. And when we announced it last Wednesday, I'm sure lots of people were thinking, who is Pluspetrol? Well, Pluspetrol are a very strong regional player. They are active in 6 countries across Latin America. And they're also in Angola, so they've expanded over to Lusitanian Africa. They work to bring things to market very, very quickly. In Angola, they brought on stream the Castagna oil field in 2013, and that was the first oil field onshore brought on stream since Angolan independence from Portugal, which is a big tick. They understand the region, and there's a very strong cultural fit with us. So when we are forging partnerships, we need to be able to understand each other, and each part of the partnership needs to bring something to the table, and we need to respect each other. So for me as an explorationist, also the rocks come first. So if we've chosen bad rocks and chosen wrong postcodes, commercially there's very little we can do about it. So for me, it's the rocks come first. And Pluspetrol, a very strong, technically focused company as well. They operate over 460,000 barrels of oil equivalent per day. So they are a major production player. They're privately owned. So that insulates them from the vagaries of South American stock markets, which is a very good tick. And we've got a meeting of minds there. We understand the plays together, and we want to achieve the same things together. So that's very, very exciting. And if we really want to punch above our weight in Latin America, it's forging these partnerships which is the way to go. Now, on this slide, this is the acreage position in southern Bolivia. I'm not going to go into too much detail on this slide, but Fiona was talking about we've been tasked in bringing in multi-TCF opportunities. And again, it comes back to the rocks. If you've chosen the wrong rocks, you're not going to get those multi-TCF opportunities. So let's be honest, there's a graveyard of oil and gas companies that have chosen the wrong rocks. So we're in the right basin. These numbers here are from WoodMac, and you can see there are proven multi-TCF opportunities. In red here, these are discovered oil and gas fields, so significant potential. The Plus Petrol Hueco block is here. So it's right in the right postcode, as Fiona says, it's the Park Lane of the West End, and we've been able to deliver this asset for you as a shareholder with zero upfront costs to be able to take an 80% operator share. Now this block actually has full 3D coverage over it, which is important. Now, 3D was shot some time ago, sort of in the early 90s, and we, with Plus Petrol, believe that doing the right sort of reprocessing on this, which is out there in the market, the Bolivian hydrocarbon minister in March indicated that Shell, that have this acreage here, will be drilling their well in the O'Connor province, which is approximately there, next year. And he also indicated that we hear a lot about fold and thrust belts over the next couple of years. So we're going to be on a really exciting journey here, and it's going to be a masterclass for all of us in fold and thrust belts. And fold and thrust belts are present right across the continent, from Colombia in the north right through to Argentina in the south. Technically, they require a lot of understanding. So if you can understand them, you've got the keys to unlock the potential. And because you really need to understand these technically, it means that others, our competitors, shy away from it. So what you can see is we've been forging a strategy that's quite distinct. It's a very proactive strategy, and it's based on technical fundamentals, and it sets us apart from our competition in aid, which is also a very, very big tick. Now, I'm not going to go into the technical detail on this slide.
Just a question.
Sure.
For those of us who are a little more ignorant, could you explain what a folded thrust belt is?
A folded thrust belt. Good, yeah. We'll be on the masterclass, and in 2 years' time, yeah, you'll be able to test me. So a folded thrust belt is a mountain region where there's a lot of compression, and when there's a lot of compression, it brings up rocks from deep depths up to present day depth. So if you go back, let's go back to the first slide, if you indulge me. So this is a great example. So you can see the beds of the rocks here, and they've come up from kilometres. And as those rocks have come up from deep depths, they become very, very fractured. And fractures are excellent for gas. They're what we call permeability highways. So they're basically the motorways that gas can shoot through to the well. So if you can predict fractures, you can produce at very, very high rates. Okay, does that answer your question? And the great thing of fold and thrust belts is the surface is the key to the subsurface. So if you can understand what's happening at the surface through detailed field work, you can understand what's happening in the subsurface as well. Okay?
Are the whole of the Andes full of full of what you're talking about?
Yes, but in terms of oil and gas, you want to choose rocks that are in a hydrocarbon area that oil and gas have actually migrated into. So in Bolivia, in the Tarija Basin, basically from the last 150 million years plus, it's been producing oil and gas. And the movement that gives these structures today only occurred in the last 8 million years. But the good thing is these rocks are still producing oil and gas today. So even though we've had that movement, typically when you've had that movement, it rejigs all the hydrocarbons, and quite often the hydrocarbons just migrate away and you're left with nothing. But in this area, and in this area, South America, it's still producing hydrocarbons today. The rocks are still in the gas window. They're producing gas, which means that these fractured structures are full of hydrocarbons. So that's which is excellent. Okay. Any more questions? Okay. So moving back here. So this is what I want to show you. I'm not going to take you all through the technical detail, but this is the reservoir here. This is a lorry. So you can see the scale of that reservoir, what we call an outcrop at the Earth's surface. And when you've got these structures, you've got these multiple reservoirs on top of each other. And I've got a slice of the reservoir that I can show you. Actually, it's in my pocket, I can't get it out. But I can show you a coffee. So you can see all the structures within the reservoir which act as those permeability highways.
Where's the lorry?
Where's the lorry? Sorry, it's there. So you can see the road. You can see the beds. So these rocks would have been deposited like this, and then they've gone down to a deep level, and then with the movement of the Andes, these have come up from deep levels, and you might be able to see some fractures. And this reservoir is actually called the Huaman Pampa. So you might not be able to pronounce it now, but I'm telling you in 2 years' time it's just going to roll off the tongue. So that's good.
Does that mean that you wouldn't have to drill so deeply to find gas because of this elevation of the rock?
Well, these structures still at relatively deep levels. So we're talking sort of sub 3 kilometres. So now, why do you want to drill to those depths? So we're not going to go into this cross section in detail, but you can see a lot of these shallow structures are connected to the surface, which means there's a strong likelihood that the hydrocarbons have migrated away. So the deeper you go, the less connectivity the structures have with the present day, the hydrocarbons within the structure. Okay. So for this Waco block, for the next year, we're on a technical journey. So ECHO are in the driving seat of this, and as I said before, ourselves and Plus Patrol have got. We do meet technically, which is fantastic, and we will be reprocessing the seismic using those most up-to-date algorithms that seismic processors have to be able to take away a lot of the noise in the seismic, so we get a very clear picture of the subsurface. And by doing that, we'll be able to identify the right locations of where to drill. And I alluded to fractures as well, so we'll be doing a lot of work on fracture characterization and trying to predict those fracture networks. Because if you can put your wells in the middle of a fracture network, those fractures do all the work for you. They suck all the gas from a greater area of the reservoir and deliver it to the well. So that's where we want to be. So it's a technical story on Waco for the next year or so, and then we'll bring it to a drill decision on where we want to drill in this block. And then we take 80% operatorship, and we'll be drilling that well ourselves. So really exciting time for you as investors. And an important point for me is, as I've said before, and you're going to hear it again and again, the rocks come first, because if the rocks don't have the value there, you're not going to be able to get any commercial value for yourself as a shareholder. So it's important to get the right rocks, which I'm pleased to say we have. So even though we'll be focusing there on the technical work, that's not going to stop us from delivering deals. There's a lot of stuff that we're doing at the moment, which I'd love to tell you, but I'm not at liberty to do so now. But yeah, we're working very hard to bring you more deals in the future. Deals that have a very strong commercial rationale and very strong technical rationale as well. So you need those two things to come together. But it's an exciting story, and we're going to have a really exciting time going forward. Thank you.
So, thank you, Julian, and I am going to be testing everybody in the room when we have a coffee or something stronger after this meeting. So, dream deal number 1 revealed. As Julian's alluded to, we're still looking at other opportunities. There's other dream deals already in the pipeline that we can't talk about just yet. But the key for us over the next 3 months is to actually get some of those progressing. We need to work on those regional partnerships. We've already got a fantastic partnership that we're forging ahead with Cruise Patrol. At the same time, we'll be thinking about strategic partnerships. We'll be thinking about ways of de-risking our drilling costs and bringing other partners into the network. There's a place in time to be opportunistic. We think that we're there. There are opportunities on the table, and you'll have seen the technical capability of our team already demonstrated by Julian here, and also the regional capability. So Julian spent a year in Bolivia. He knows this area like the back of his hand, and we're going to be working with that to move forward with other partnerships. So Bolivia and beyond. At the moment, the focus for what we've revealed is Bolivia, but it is Bolivia and beyond, and we'll be looking across the region, and I think it's important that we recognise that. We're going to adjourn, I think, out to have...
Maybe just some Q&A if people want to.
Yeah, some Q&A if people want to, but at the same time, when we adjourn, Julian will be there. He can talk to you about Holden thrust belts. He can talk to you about the breakup of Gondwana. He will be able to reveal his golden ticket, which is a little bit of the reservoir that he has in his pocket. Will also be there and be happy to talk to you about capital discipline and the RNLI. And we'll all be here to take any questions that you would have. Obviously, we'll have a more formal Q&A section now. So, if there are any questions?
Yes, I have one. It's a flippant one.
Of course it is.
It's a flippant.
So there's a microphone coming for you.
Sorry. Yeah. Sorry, it's nothing serious. It's a bit flippant. As James is the chairman and he guides the company, going by a remark you made earlier on, we're spoiled by clubs after events. So hopefully James can guide you on that point. I knew it.
I'll be looking for his guidance.
Thank you. Over what acreage was the seismic conducted? Was the whole seismic conducted?
We have full 3D, if we go back to the map. So, because it's quite mountainous, typically companies shoot 2D and drill on 2D data. And costs to acquire 2D data are actually very high in this area. Now we are lucky because on the Guaco block, which Plus Patrol have, they have full 3D coverage right across the block. So every part of that block has 3D coverage. So
sorry, what's the block? What's the acreage?
It's this yellow block here.
How big is it?
It's 75 square kilometres, so complete 3D coverage.
And I think that's a very important piece of the picture here. The full 3D coverage, if we were to go out and have to shoot that today, I mean, we'd be talking about many tens of millions of dollars of expenditure in order to go out and shoot a 3D. So to be able to come into this license and have that already sitting there, ready to go, not only have we reduced the entire time frame of how long it's going to take us to get to a point where we can make a drilling decision, and when we go forward on that, but it's also taken out an enormous chunk of cost for us. So we've come in at a zero entry cost, and we've already got many tens of millions of dollars worth of information sitting there and ready for us to start a reprocessing and a technical work evaluation.
Let me ask on the back of that, what's the as a layman,
Yeah.
I do not know whether seismics vary in quality. I expect they do.
It does, yeah.
In terms of grading between 1 and 10.
Yeah.
What really says the quality of the seismic that you've acquired?
Well, the seismic was acquired around 2000, and in these mountainous regions there is a lot of noise in the seismic. But since then, there's been a huge upswing in seismic reprocessing technology. So what we want to do is bring that new technology, those new algorithms that have come about, particularly in the last 5 years, and apply that to the seismic. And that will help remove all the noise and reveal the prize actually below.
And I think another thing that's very key here is that Julian's been involved in this area. He understands the processes and the workflows of providing that best technical uplift of the data that we have. So that's really key here. We understand the uplift process of actually utilising the data effectively.
So, another question. This sounds like a good deal that you've got with Plus Patrol. Why did they do this deal? What's in it for them? Why didn't they just develop this themselves?
No money.
Yeah, well, I can't talk for Plus Patrol, obviously, because we won't reveal our own interests of why you go into deals. But I will say, with Plus Patrol, we were able to punch above our weight. So if you think back a couple of months ago, Echo had no capability in this area. We were a company with some assets in Egypt and in Tunisia. But by able to sit down around the table and talk about opportunities and talk about them in the right way that's culturally sensitive, so I think that's important as well. You need to be very culturally sensitive in this region. Enables you to see the value in both of you moving forward. So Plus Patrol have operations in 6 countries. In the continent, I also said in Africa as well. So they're probably looking on a portfolio basis as well. So we are helping them upgrade their portfolio. But again, I'm not talking for Plus Patrol.
Can you make any comment on the situation once you got the asset, the political environment and the unions?
I think what we're seeing is an evolving market in Bolivia. You know, as I stated, they've had years of underinvestment. The government have recognised a need to have investment into their energy sector. They need to have the power. So, you know, they can see a shortfall. We've got more demand than supply. And so therefore, it's in their own national interest to actually ensure that the investment continues within the country that's going to deliver the energy supply that they need. They've got a massive growing internal domestic market, plus they're tied into gas supply contracts both to Argentina and to Brazil that they have to fulfill. So they have a quantity of gas that they have to supply. I mean, we were talking just this week, there are 3 power stations that are built and not commissioned in Bolivia because they don't have the necessary fuel to actually feed into those power stations. So I think what we're seeing is again a counter-cyclical opportunity. There hasn't been investment. People have strayed away from Bolivia because of the issues with nationalism a few years ago. That was all retrospective. We now have a forward-looking government, and they can see their need evolving to supply power. So they're keen for outward investment to come into their energy sector. I can't comment on the unions at the moment.
And all I would say is, in terms of unions, I think Bolivia is very different from countries like Brazil, for instance.
Can I ask about the 26 million cash, and how quickly are you going to spend it? What are you going to spend it on?
So I think one of the key things that we have with the asset going forward is we have some technical work to complete. We know how much that's going to cost us, and it's going to be a fraction of the 26 million. Now, whether we utilise the cash going forward in other asset acquisitions kind of depends on what that acquisition is, whether we need to bolster that in other ways, or whether we need to do some share transactions. It will all depend, but we will be opportunistic, and we're not going to go and spend this 26 million over the course of the next year. You know, that's a good pot of cash. As I said, it's not an enormous pot of cash in the industry that we're in, but it gets us a seat at the table and enables us to have the discussions and the negotiations that we need to go forward with other acquisitions. But we've got our amount set aside for the technical work programme. We know what we have to do there, and it's a small fraction of that pot.
Can I just follow up, I think? How soon do you envisage being able to acquire assets that can produce revenues? Because Salim's already spent a big portion of the cash on the freebies. So we're going to need to spend fairly soon.
I think we're quite clear that we're looking at all opportunities. We will only invest in a production asset if it is good value for you, the private investor, and also if it's got significant upside in terms of the exploration, because that's where our value comes. It's in identifying the upside potential of any asset. So yes, we will look at production opportunities, but only those that carry upside and only those that provide a really good entry value.
I've got 3 questions, very quickly. Number 1 is, when will you establish your base in Bolivia as an office? 2, you'll have, if I'm not wrong, you mentioned in the interview, regional offices. Will you have any problems in Argentina? 2. Third one is basically following Sound's strategy. If there's a placing for more funds, will you consider warrants for the private investor, which is a big thing, really? So have you got those things in, sir?
Well, I'm going to leave number 3 to James, but I'll start with number 1 and 2. How soon are we going to set up regional office units? So yes, we know that we need to set up some regional offices. It is highly likely we will have one region centre, which may be in Buenos Aires, it may be in Bogota. We're talking to people at the moment. We also recognise that we will need representation in country in Bolivia, and again we're talking to people at the moment. So I think within the next 3-month window you're going to see some movement, and we'd hope to have some individuals and locations identified. At the moment we do have, or we're in the process of setting up a registered office in Bolivia, and I think we're very close to the completion of that organisational setup. So we will have we will have a base there. At the moment, what we're looking for is a highly competent and capable individual to be our front-facing person.
I can volunteer.
Sorry?
I can volunteer for Uruguay.
Thank you. So James,
Well,
I don't know if you...
Yeah, on the funding, to come back to Mick's question maybe first, I think one of the things that distinguishes us in this market is access to capital. We are uniquely placed with the cornerstone investors that we brought in, and you will have seen, just to link it to a question you may have on Friday's RNS regarding an onward distribution of some of the equity and warrants. That is all about doing exactly what we've done in Sound, which is building a broad cornerstone investor base. So this isn't just Marco, it isn't just Continental, it's access to a much broader Italian/Swiss investor base. And that's what's gone on Friday, is that onward distribution, which actually frees up funds in Continental to get involved as and when the deals flow through and we need to do further funding here. But the model has always been, to take that step by step. £26 million is on one hand a lot of money for a positioning play, but as Fiona says, it goes very quickly in this industry. So the intention there is to use that access to capital, use our strong paper vis-a-vis other valuations in the sector to acquire our portfolio, and to make sure that's done, to come back to your question, Salim, in a fair way for private investors. So you don't get, what you won't see is institutional placings out there on terms which you don't get access to. That's what we stand for, is that private investor fair treatment. Will that include warrants? It may not, we'll have to see. But whatever we do, you will get a chance, as we have with Sound, to participate alongside and to benefit from those same terms and that same exit ultimately. I mean, that's the model. Will, anything you would add to that?
Yeah, I think we're looking at plenty of opportunities, plenty of deals. A lot of it's about how you structure it. Structuring deals is often driven by the deal itself, but then also what is your access to capital. We're very, very focused on preserving and driving equity value. So what is the right capital structure and the right solution to really drive shareholder value? And for that will be our fundamental driver for any decision we make about whether it's right to issue warrants with an equity raise, or whether there's an alternative way of structuring the deal.
Thank you.
What I wanted to ask about the deal, is it zero, I don't understand that bit, but zero money upfront and 80%, how is that going to benefit you, and how much is it going to cost you? Because a big company like that, is it apparently you will be paying 100% of the cost, or how is the financing side of it going?
I can't talk about the financing side.
Because
that's
we thought that was very clear when the RNS came out. We didn't get much of what what's going to cost.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's what we've got is a technical period at the moment where we're doing technical work. So that will cost us about $1.5 million, dollars, to reprocess that seismic. So we own that work, we're paying for that ourselves. Then we make a decision to drill, and then we as a partnership will drill the well, and as it said in the RNS, we will pay for 100% of that first well, and then all subsequent wells and the subsequent development is at each partner's equity share.
And let me just add that one of the slightly innovative ways, if you contrast us to the rest of the sector, is bringing in these strategic partners. So part of the play here is to pick up really large hydrocarbon basins, which you wouldn't normally see small caps aspire to, and then bring in partners that unlocks it in terms of funding, unlocks it in terms of technical assistance, and that's the model here. So obviously it's early stage, it was only a short while ago we've announced the first transaction, but the model is to build up a portfolio in Bolivia and beyond, and then bring in partners that unlocks it. So I think that partly will over time address how we actually deal with the funding.
Well, I think normally we think that Plus were naturally more to benefit from the deal than Echo, so to speak.
I'd be surprised if that's certainly not our perspective, obviously.
Yeah.
Plus Patrol was sat there with a huge position in an asset that they were not currently active on. We've farmed into that asset, taken an operating position, taken a significant chunk. Yes, they're getting a 20% carry, but actually what they're only getting then is 20% of the upside if it works, whereas previously they would have had 100. So are we doing some of the running and leveraging off the Julian and Fiona expertise technically? Absolutely. And are they going to benefit from that? Yes, they are. And I think Plus Patrol is a long-term partnership. It's not the only deal we expect over the next couple of years to be announcing with them. This is something which is a regional partnership that has durability. So we think it's a real win-win, to be honest.
Yeah, and I think just to put it in perspective, if you look at a number of traditional deals in the exploration world, very often you might be picking up 30% of an asset and paying 100% of a well cost. So to pick up 80% and only be paying effectively 20% on behalf of Plus Patrol is within this world is an exceedingly good deal.
Yeah.
Reference was made just a few months ago about we drill. Do I conclude that it won't be actually the Echo that drill, it will be a third-party partnership drill, i.e. Schlumberger maybe?
I think we have to wait and see who actually drills and what partners we bring in and the timing on that. This is all about taking the asset position early, seeing the cycle change, and if you look at, you can see it on the map here, so here's our yellow block that Julian's taken you through. This red dot here is a well which Shell are drilling in 2018. That's a rather important piece of the jigsaw here, because that well is actually unlocking, if it works, quite a large region. So the timing of this is important. The timing of introducing partners is also important, because you want to make sure, if you contrast it to deals we've done elsewhere, that you're getting a huge uplift on what you're onward selling, what you bought relatively cheap and passing it on expensive. That's how good deals are done. So that's kind of the model.
It's a bit like, getting a plot of land and you're getting the planning permission on it. So, it's adding that value through that process. We will be adding our technical expertise to get this prospect drill ready. Whether we continue forward as Echo operating that, or bring in a strategic partner to support Echo, or indeed somebody else wants to drill it on our behalf, all of those are still out there and waiting to be determined.
And it does strike me that, we've obviously focused a lot on the one deal we've announced, because that's what we're here to talk to you about, but actually you'll find the future is more in this map than in this map, and this map is critical, but actually, this is one of a series of orchestrated moves which have been planned for a while. The first one is announced, so that's what we're talking to you about. You'll see the others come through relatively quickly, and that will broaden out quite quickly then, and it'll fit a little bit more in terms of the context for you at that point.
I can see two of the yellow on the map. We haven't mentioned the one in the middle of the lake up there. You see the little yellow thing there?
Talking about this one here.
There, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's difficult to see the exact colours, isn't it? There. So this is the Echo position. This one looks quite similar. It's
There's
actually
another yellow one down on the
This,
bottom.
these
Yeah.
ones here are all Plus Patrols. Existing position.
the orange and yellow is merged. Yeah.
Plus Patrol have a wide acreage position in Bolivia, so you can see on the yellow on that slide.
We haven't mentioned Lima with Peru.